Parshat Shoftim, it's amazing the current events in the Parsha and in the Haftorah. I don't know where to begin, but you don't need to read the Jerusalem Post. If you just lahavdil elef hadolos, if you just look at the Torah. This week's Parsha, it says, Ki teitzel nachama alevecha, when you go out to war against your enemy. Devarim 20, Pasuk 1. You go out to war against your enemy. So Rashi says there are no extra words in the Holy Torah. Who do you go to war against, David? Your friend? Obviously you go to war against your enemy. So why does the Torah have to tell me when you go to war against your enemy? So Rashi says, you should know your enemy. Al tarachem eleim. Don't have rachmanis on Hamas and Abu Mamzer. So the Torah tells us in Devarim 21 that before the IDF go into battle, you call Mashiach al-Machama. Who is that? The chief chaplain of the IDF would give them a pep talk. And he'd say, Shema Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, you are going to war against your enemy. Again, against your enemy, not against your friend. Treat them like an enemy. Hello? Right? Don't be afraid, because God is with you. So Rashi quotes Chazal, Shema Yisrael. Why does the IDF chaplain, Avi, say Shema Yisrael? If the IDF soldier has no mitzvahs, the only mitzvah he has there is what? He reads Shema Yisrael, you are worthy that what? That's enough that Hashem will what? Save you. Isn't that incredible? So Rashi is saying everyone in the IDF, who doesn't say Shema Yisrael? Everyone. Right? So all of our chayalim are heroes. If the only thing they say Shema Yisrael, it's enough that what? That a Kodesh Baruch Hu will what? Save you. That Hashem was, that's enough. Wow. So before the soldiers go into battle, they call him Mashiach al-Machama, he gives them a pep talk. And then the MPs take over. So maybe the MPs, and the Shotrim, they say, any person that's afraid and fearful, let him go back to his house. Any person that betrothed a wife and didn't marry her yet, he bought a new apartment and he didn't move in yet, or he's just afraid, let him go home. Why? So Rashi said if he betrothed the woman, he didn't consummate the marriage, and he gets killed, another man will take her. Agmas nefesh huzeh. How do you say agmas nefesh in English? It's anguish, but he's dead. What are you talking about here? The chaplain and the MPs repeat. The chaplain says the MPs repeat. A person that what? That betrothed a lady, he didn't consummate the marriage, let him go home, because maybe he'll get killed in war and another man will take her. So Rashi said he'll get killed in war and another man will take her. Agmas nefesh huzeh. Rabbi Avram, what does that mean? Agmas nefesh.
That's anguish.
He's anguished, but he's dead. He's 6 feet under. What agmas nefesh does he have, David? You know what the doctor said? Glad the doctor's in the house. It ain't over till it's over. The neshama is connected. He has agmas nefesh in olam haba, knowing that his wife, who he didn't get a chance to live with, is living with another man.
Of course she's going to marry somebody.
Agmas nefesh. He has agmas nefesh. So therefore, he has to go home excused from the war. Because when the body dies, it's just the bodysuit that dies. The person, his feelings, his emotions, live on beyond the grave. Agmas nefesh. It ain't over till it's over. So the chaplain makes the speech, the MPs repeat, and the MPs add, any person that's afraid, let him go home. Why is he afraid? So Rabbi Yosef really says in Tractate Sota, he's afraid because he knows he's a sinner. He knows what he did last night. He's a sinner and he's afraid that Hashem will not protect him because of his sin. So why is it mentioned in the speech with what? A guy who betrothed a woman, didn't marry her, a guy who bought an apartment and didn't move in yet? So why do you mention the sinner? You're sitting down for this. Lekach tolsa lo Torah lachzo al abayit b'kerem b'isha lechasot al hachozrim b'shvil averet shebiyadam shelo yevinu shehem bal avera shem abon abayit eres isha. The Torah is covering up for whom? The sinner. Right? The chaplain would say all sinners go home. Right? So the Torah, I think it's called the Watergate. We say someone that's afraid and someone that didn't consummate the marriage, didn't move into his apartment, didn't get a chance to enjoy his vineyard. So when people see him going home, they won't know that he's going home because he's a sinner, he's afraid he'll step on a landmine. They think he's going home, Mickey, because what? He has a Bible waiting for him. A Bible is waiting for him. Honey, I'm home, right? So the Torah is so sensitive not to shame even a sinner. What a message. And this Parsha is always read the first week of Chodesh Elul. This Parsha is always read the week of Chodesh Elul. To be sensitive, not to shame even a sinner. So the Torah covers up and say, no, he's not going home because he's a sinner. He's going home because what? He didn't consummate the marriage yet. People say, right? He's going home, Shema bon abayit, not a kerem, or eras isha. That's why he's going home. Lechasot, the Torah is covering up. The Torah is concerned with the anguish and the shame of whom? Sinner. A sinner. Alachas kama v'kama. How the Torah is concerned if someone is what? Not a sinner. What a powerful message in the Torah. What a powerful message. Wow. Elul. Everybody knows Ani Ladodi Vidodi Li. Everybody knows that. What does it really mean? You look at Parshat Shlach Lecha. It says Vayishlach Ota Moshe Lotur at Eretz Canaan. Moshe sent them Lotur Eretz Canaan. Lotur says Unkelus, Unkelus. La'alala. Elul. Elul means in Aramaic to investigate, to examine, to search out. So Moshe sent them, David, to do that to Pisgat Zev. But that's what we have to do to ourselves in the month of Elul, la'alala, to investigate, to examine, to search out the guy in the mirror. And that's a very painful process, but necessary to get ready for the Yom Hadin. What else does Elul really mean? Aleph Lamed Vav Lamed. You look in Tractate Brachos, page 17. The tafkid of a Jew, especially in the month of Elul, is ahuv lamala v'nechmad lamata. That's Rosh Tevos Elul. Aleph Lamed Vav Lamed. Aleph is ahuv. Aleph Lamed. Ahuv lamala, beloved to the one above. Vav Lamed v'nechmad lamata. And don't forget to be kind, courteous, and loving to the people down below. It's not enough just to be beloved by the one above. You also have to be nechmad lamata, precious and loving and courteous and kind to the people below. The month of Elul. Even to a sinner, that the Torah covers up his shame of, he doesn't expose him. Nechmad lamata, how far this goes. Nechmad lamata. How far this goes. The Chazon Ish was asked a shaila 60 years ago. A rabbi is giving a drush on Shabbos, and the congregation had davened mincha early because the rabbi was going overtime into the speech, so they davened mincha early. This one guy walked in, and he didn't daven mincha yet because he didn't know the rabbi was going to go overtime. The congregation davened. It's getting late. It's getting shkia. He walks out in the middle of what? Of the drasha, because he doesn't want to miss mincha. So afterwards he felt guilty because the darshan looked at the guy. So he asked the Chazon Ish whether he did right. I didn't want to miss mincha. I didn't have mincha. Chazon Ish said, you were wrong. Your mincha is not worth shaming that Baal darshan. You caused him anguish and pain when you walked out in the middle of the drasha. Better nishke davet mincha. Chazon Ish, better you shouldn't daven mincha. Your mincha is not worth the anguish that you caused this lecturer. Reminds me of a story. Now, all my stories are true, but some did not happen yet, David. This rabbi was giving a drasha during the week and was going on and on and on. He forgot his watch. The president walked out in the middle of the drasha. So the rabbi, afterwards approached him, upset. You shame me. Why'd you walk out in the middle of my drasha? You're the president. He says, Rabbi, I'll tell you the truth. I walked out, I needed a shave. He says, you needed a shave? Why don't you shave before the drasha? Rabbi, before the drasha, I did not need a shave. Okay. So that's why he couldn't shave before. He didn't need it before. But anyway, the Chazon Ish, Paskin, you did wrong. Better nishke daven mincha and not to cause anguish to this Baldarshan, whoever he was. And with this Chazon Ish, we can understand, obviously, something incredible. In this week's Parsha, there's a mitzvah to appoint a king. Just like there's a mitzvah to put on tefillin, just like there's a mitzvah, Abraham, to blow shofar on Rosh Hashanah, or shake a lulav on Sukkot. The same Taryag mitzvah, there's a mitzvah to appoint the king. So the question is, in the book of Samuel 1, when the Jews asked for a king, why was the prophet so upset? Why was God upset? Why was the Navi upset? It's a mitzvah. Like putting on tefillin. Why was God and the Navi so angry and upset? They should have waited until Shmuel dies. They caused him tremendous anguish. What am I, a shmata? A dish rag? I gave you my whole life. His lifeblood he gave to Am Yisrael since he was 2 years old. Now you want to throw me away? God felt his anguish. You want to do a mitzvah, but your mitzvah is not worth the anguish of another yid. Should have waited until Shmuel dies and then ask for a mitzvah. They were ahuv lamala, but David, they were not nechmad lamata. They got the El, but not the Elul.
But God agreed that he should get him a
But after a while, so what does Hashem say? Oh, Masha's ahead of me. Why did God agree? God felt the pain of Shmuel. Look in Shmuel Aleph. God says, my dear Shmuel, it's not you they rejected, but they rejected Shmuel, not God. They wanted a human king. They didn't reject Hashem. They wanted a human king. But they caused anguish and pain to Shmuel. So God says, my dear Shmuel, it's not you they reject, even though it was what? Hashem took the anguish on himself. He felt the pain and anguish of Shmuel HaNavi. And therefore he was so angry at Am Yisrael. So what a message. What a message. My mitzvah is not as important as causing another yid pain and anguish. So they should have waited. They should have waited. That's pretty incredible. The message of Elul, bein odam lechaveroi. Wow. Not to be mitzayer a fellow yid. Now, being a Balgaiva is the worst midah. The Rambam says the worst midah is to be a Balgaiva. How do you say Balgaiva? What? Yeah, being a Balgaiva is the worst midah. Arrogance.
She listened to what she said, right?
What? Being a Balgaiva is the worst midah. The Rambam said, I can't get any worse. It's the granddaddy of all wicked midos is to be a Balgaiva. So the last time I checked, Sarah, that should be in the Taryag mitzvah is not to be what? A Balgaiva. But the last time I checked, I don't see it's there. So the Ramban says it's there. Ramban says it's there. In Devarim 17, Pasuk 20, it says, Levilti rum levava me'echav, that even a king is not allowed to have a haughty heart. So Madach, a king, is not allowed to have a haughty heart, then certainly what? A commoner. So there is a law in the Torah for a king not to be arrogant and stuck up, which is only natural for him. So the Ramban says, Alachas kama v'kama, someone that's not a king has a terrible sin if he is arrogant and stuck up. So it is in the Torah. So it is in the Torah. The Parsha begins. This Parsha is always read the first week in the Elul. because it describes what's demanded of us in Elo. Shoftim v'shotrim titein lecha. Is that proper grammar, Yael? Shoftim v'shotrim is rabim. Titein lecha is what? It should have said Shoftim v'shotrim titnu lechem. Right? God knows Hebrew, right? Opan 101. So the Levi Yitzchak Edition says, why does it start out in the plural and switches to what? So if Levi Yitzchak says, this is the tafkid of the month of Elul. Shoftim v'shotrim titein lecha. Every person has to police and judge himself. Not to criticize others. Look unto yourself. Shoftim v'shotrim titein lecha. You have to be a shofet and a shoter on yourself. Police and judge yourself. And then there's a shoftu at the Am Mishpat Tzedek. The shoftu at the Am Mishpat Tzedek. Says Levi Yitzchak Berditcher, the Gemara in Shabbos 127 tells us, if you judge others favorably, Hashem will judge you favorably. How does the Gemara in Shabbos 127 know that? Says Levi Yitzchak from this pasuk, the shoftu at the Am Mishpat Tzedek. If the month of Elul, we're preparing for Yom Adin. You want to have a favorable judgment? So you judge Am Yisrael Mishpat Tzedek. If you judge Am Yisrael Mishpat Tzedek, then you're guaranteed that Kodesh Baruch Hu will judge you Mishpat Tzedek, because it's called a boomerang. The way you judge others, the way Hashem judges you. Tractate Shabbos Daf Chof Chav Zayin. And Levi Yitzchak ties it to what? To this week's parasha. To this week's parasha. So, judge and police yourself, and then it says, "L'sita lecha asherah." Don't plant a tall tree in the temple courtyard. What has that got to do with judging yourself? We know in two psukim in the Torah next door there has to be a shtar kekeshe. What is judging and police yourself? And oh, by the way, don't plant a tall tree. So Levi Yitzchak goes on. If you want to judge and police yourself, you can't act like an Asherah. You got to get off your high and mighty horse. Don't act like you're stuck up and better than anybody else. Get off your high and mighty horse, humble yourself, and only then are you able to what? Judge and police yourself. And the Torah goes on, do not set up a matzeva which God hates. Even to serve God. You can only have a mizbeach of many avanim. But to have a pillar of one stone, even to serve God, it's hateful to Hashem. Only many stones. So Rashi says, but Yaakov Avinu set up a pillar to serve Hashem. The Avos set up pillars to serve Hashem. That's a one-stone altar. And that was fine. So Rashi said, in the days of the Avot, it was fine. But after Matan Torah, it's no good anymore. Now you can only have a pillar of what? Of many stones. Mash, what's the difference? One stone, many stone. Why should God care? Says the great Rav Kook. The Avos were individuals, right? They had no people behind them. So they offered a carbon to Hashem on a one-stone altar, representing what? Themselves, because they had nobody else to represent. So that was good in the days of the Avos. But now, after Matan Torah, says Rav Kook, you think only about yourself, that's hateful to Hashem. After Matan Torah, we have to combine with many stones, at least 12, the 12 tribes of Israel. So therefore, after Matan Torah, a mizbeach of many stones is only good. Because that represents, Avi, the diversity of Am Yisrael. You're no longer Avram Yitzchak Yaakov, you're no longer individuals. Now you represent the nation, and the nation consists of many different what? Facets, at least 12. Avi, different strokes for different folks. Each tribe, one second, have their own flag, their own nusach, their own color in the Choshen. We believe in unity, but not uniformity. Unity, yes, David, not uniformity. So even though you don't wear a black hat or a white shirt, you can wear a Hawaiian shirt, right? It's the beautiful rainbow of Am Yisrael, represented by the 12 colors, the 12 different stones in the Choshen Mishpat. And therefore, God only wants from now on the idea of a mizbeach of many stones, yes? Today you can't, but it's the idea. This is the idea. We're talking about after Matan Torah in the days of the temple. But this is the idea that a person is no longer supposed to think only about himself. He's supposed to reach out and touch each other. And that's represented by the Mizbeach of many stones as opposed to the Matseva of one stone. That's Rav Kook's explanation of the symbolism, yes?
We're all responsible for each other.
That's right. All responsible for each other. Nachon? That's right. Every Jew is responsible for the other Jew. Right? Now, Rav Kook asked an incredible question. I tell you, you can't make this up, how the Parsha of the week, Sarah, always speaks to what? Current events. The Netziv, in Amak Dover, asked a question. The Parsha, the Torah is so concerned, don't chop down a fruit tree. Not to chop down a fruit tree, because you're destroying. Yet the Torah commands us that you're supposed to annihilate the enemy, including women and children. Says the Amak Dover, the Netziv, isn't that bizarre? The Torah cares more about trees than women and children? Does that make any sense? The Parsha of the week. Annihilate your enemy, all of them, and oh, by the way, have Rachmanis on a fruit tree. Does that make sense to you? Says the Amak Dover in 1894, I think. Current events. This is only when they are terrorizing you. When the women or children are sending kite bombs and hiding the terrorists, the rocket launchers behind them. Then it's a war for survival. Only then are you commanded to annihilate them. Only in wartime if they're attacking you. Is that moral? It's moral. If someone is coming to kill you, kill him. They're launching kite bombs with explosives. So Naftali Bennett told the chief of the IDF, why don't you take him out? He says, we don't kill children, but they're trying to kill you. You're more moral than the Torah. No matter how old he is, he's sending kite bombs with bombs in it. So why don't you take him out? No. The Torah is telling us, in wartime when they're out to get you, you have to get them first. It's a question of survival. So this is the Hamak Dover, the Netziv writing in the 1890s, mamish about our time. Doesn't matter how old they are, if they are terrorizing you and trying to kill you, you have no choice but to get up and kill them. The greatest morality is to stay alive, Avi. Is there a greater morality than that? What's the greatest mitzvah in the Torah, Avi? Staying alive, right? That's the greatest mitzvah in the Torah, staying alive. And by the way, that's the motto of Rosh Hashanah. Remember that song, Staying Alive, Rosh Hashanah, right? We want to stay alive another year. That's the motto of Rosh Hashanah, staying alive. The Haftorah, incredible, the Haftorah, how it speaks to current events, amazing. Isaiah 51, Pasuk Yud Gimel, Vatefachet Tomid Kol Hayom Mipnei Hamas. That's what it says. I'm not making this up. Look at Isaiah 51, chapter 13. Vatefachet Tomid Kol Hayom Mipnei Hamas HaMetzik. You're afraid always, all day, because of the terror of Hamas. But you can do something about it. Don't bomb empty buildings. So the prophet is calling us out from 2,700 years ago. Vatefachet Tomid Kol Hayom B'nei Hamas.
What does Hamas mean?
Hamas means violent terror. Hamas means violent terror.
Oh, that is the theme of the terror.
Yeshayahu, he saw Amatzav and he couldn't believe it. Right? He couldn't believe it. Then the Navi goes on. V'asin devar beficha. God said, I have put my word in your mouth. Lintoya shemayim, to plant heaven. What is the tafkid of a Jew, Masha? To plant heaven on earth. That's what God tells the prophet Isaiah. We are here to plant heaven on earth. And this connects with the end of the Parsha. The end of the Parsha says, Ki Adam Eitz HaSodeh. Ki Adam Eitz HaSodeh. Every person is compared to what? A fruit tree? And Isaiah says, we are here to plant heaven on earth. So the analogy goes on from the Parsha, the Haftorah. How do you plant heaven on earth? How do you plant heaven on earth?
Light into darkness. Light into darkness.
That's what we're here for. To plant the godly on the earthly. And therefore the Torah compares us, Ki Adam Eitz HaSodeh. The human being is compared to a tree of the field. A tree gives off fruit. A person has to give off fruit. What are a person's fruit? His children, his mitzvahs and ma'asim tovim, his good deeds. Those are his fruits that he has to give off. Like a fruit tree. But it goes much more than that. A human being, says the Maral, in the 1570s, needs a lot of I'll put it in my language, Masha. He didn't say TLC, but I'll say. Human being needs a lot of TLC. And so a fruit tree needs TLC. You know, if you don't talk to your plants, they'll wither and die. You've got to talk to your plants. I'm making this up. If you talk to them, they will flourish. Otherwise, they'll shrivel up. I'll be just like a human being. A human being needs a lot of TLC to grow properly. Like a tree needs a TLC, a lot of care, a lot of concern, not to be neglected in order to give proper fruit. And the same thing with a human being. And sometimes you have to bend the branches one way or another. A human being, you have to bend them. You shouldn't go off the derech. Do you see the analogy, Yael? You shouldn't go off the derech. So we are here to plant heaven on earth. And you plant the tree. And after the person plants the tree and the person dies, the tree continues to give off what? Fruit. Human being the same? Children, branches, students, good deeds, on and on, on and on. We live on through our fruits, whether our children, our friends, the good deeds that we plant, they continue to give fruit. And that's why Isaiah says we're here to plant Lintoa Shamayim al Haaretz, to plant heaven on earth. To plant heaven on earth. Incredible. And he says something incredible. He says, Snari me'ofer kumi, shvu Yerushalayim, shake off the dust, arise Jerusalem. This is coming true in our days. Just a few weeks ago, scientists dusted off near the old city. They think they found King David's palace under tons of dust. So the Navi is saying, shake off the dust of Jerusalem. Now in front of our eyes. You hear what he's saying? Mamish the Haftorah on current events. And he tells the people in Chutz La'aretz, in Isaiah 52, verse 11, I don't know how they read this in Chutz La'aretz. Suru, suru, tzu'u misham, tameh. What does that mean? Suru, suru. Suru, suru. Get away, get out from there. It's tameh. Chutz La'aretz is tameh. What are you doing there? I don't know, they skipped this pasuk in Crown Heights, this Haftorah. Suru, suru. Turn away, get out from there. Chutz La'aretz is tameh. You have such a beautiful country. Why don't you come home? Uri, wake up. Yerushalayim Yira Kodesh, says the Navi. And you're still living in Chutz La'aretz. Fashtap the cup. It's unbelievable how the prophet is speaking mamish to our days in front of our own eyes. And some people just don't get it, Masha. Some people just don't get it. Huh? Unbelievable, yeah. The end of the Parsha speaks about Egla Arufa. Egla Arufa, strange. If you find a murder victim in ancient Israel, when you had a Sanhedrin, Halal, a dead body is called a Halal, from the word hollow. A dead body in Hebrew is called a halal because he's hollowed out. He had a godly soul there. Now the godly soul is gone. There's a tremendous hollow space left. If you find a murder victim, you don't know who killed him. So the city closest to the murder victim has to bring a calf, and you decapitate him. And the zikanim of the city closest to the murder victim, they have to make a statement. Our hands did not spill this guy's blood. So Rashi quotes the Gemara in Saita. These are old rabbis with long white beards, bent over. Who would suspect them of being Bugsy Siegel? Or what's his name, Dutch Schultz? Or even Meir Lenzi? Why did the zikanim of the city closer to the murder victim have to say, our hands did not spill this guy's blood? Who would Chol Salev, who would think that the Ziknei Besdim are what? Murder Incorporated? So why do they have to say that for? So Rashi says, quoting the Gemara site, that what they mean is, no. We didn't see this guy, and we didn't neglect him, and we didn't send him away without a good meal and an escort. Because if they saw him, and they ignored him, and they didn't give him a meal and an escort, and he got killed, somehow the leaders of the city, the Zikanim, are what? Guilty. Why is that? Why is that? So Maral Prague says something incredible. I'll put it the way I understood what he said, because I used to live in New York City, and I used to take the subways a lot. And there was a sign there, I remember. The police said to avoid being mugged, the signs in New York subway, to avoid being mugged, walk with a Stolzkeit. How do you say that? Stolzkeit with a don't look like a shmata forlorn. Walk like you have a place to go with confidence. Who said that? With confidence. To avoid being mugged. I saw it. I took the tray a lot. I took the F train. I felt like a sardine. The F train, the D train. There were signs all over like that. The Maral Prague says something amazing. Maybe the NYPD read the Maral. You never know. They said, if a person comes to town and he's neglected, avoided, he has no meal and no one to care for him, he is depressed and dejected. And when he's going to walk out of town, he's going to be forlorn. And that opens himself up to being a mugging victim. Even predator animals, Dr. Hackett, you know, will only attack which animal? The animal that looks what? Lost, forlorn, and weak.
That's an easy fight.
The animals like that. And muggers are like that. The NYPD knew that. So Maral is saying something incredible. It's psychological. When a person comes to town and you befriend him with a meal and an escort, then when he leaves the city, Masha, he walks with confidence, with a stoltkeit. The muggers won't go after him. They're going to look for a nevish, a forlorn nevish. Tell you how the Maral, the NYPD, there's a lot of Jewish policemen. Maybe they learned the Maral. It was called the Shomrim Society, the NYPD. Do you know that? I knew some of them. Religious sergeants. Maybe they learned this Maral. They put up the signs in the NYP, in the subway system. Don't look like a schlemazel, forlorn, otherwise you open yourself up to be a mugging victim. So if the person is befriended, says the Maral, he'll leave the city with a confidence, air of, how do you say, Yuda, an air of confidence? I think it's called. Thank you. So the muggers will look somewhere else. So it's psychological. So the mitzvah of Eshel, Achila Shtia Leviyah. Giving the guy food and drink and an escort. In Vilna, there was a great Machnas Areach. He used to take in guests and feed them, and his house burned down. He went to the Vilna Gaon. Rebbe, this is my reward. He says, I know you. You did Achila V'Shtia, but you didn't do Leviyah. Achila V'Shtia, without the lamed is what? Eish. You didn't give the Leviyah. You gave Eish without the L, without the lamed. So therefore you're left with Eish. Nebuch. Why is Leviah so important? The Rambam says something incredible. Hachnosas Orchim is a threefer of Abraham. It's food and drink and escort out the front door, at least 10 feet. And of the three parts, which is the most important mitzvah, Avi? If I ask me, I'd say I'll take the steak and the wine, or the chopped liver and the gefilte fish. Rambam says no. Of the three parts of the mitzvah, the most important part is escort. Why? Keep your escort. I'll take the what's? Steak and chips? Fish and chips? Why is Leviah, says Rambam, Achi Choshuv?
Leviah's for the neck.
Leviah, beautiful. So the Rambam doesn't explain why, otherwise I'd be unemployed. He just says that the most important part, the most Achi Choshuv is Leviah, but he doesn't say why. So we'll explain why. Dr. Hacker was mechavein, I think Sarah too. The Mefarshim explained that achila v'shtiyah, that's for the guf. You give the guy a meal. You give him a Chinese meal, in 12 minutes he's hungry again. A lot of MSG, right? Even you give him a steak dinner, Yehuda, he's still hungry after a while. The physical hana of the guf wears off. But when you escort him out the front door, you're giving covet to the neshama. That's not like a Chinese meal. That covet on. And that aura, as Kathy said, that aura will protect him from muggers because he feels so good about himself. More than the food and the drink, the neshama feels good. You care about me. You escort me out the front door. That means you don't want to get rid of me. You want me to come back. That hana remains in the neshama forever. And therefore the Rambam said it's the most important part of the mitzvah of Achnosas Orchim. Eshel Achia Shtiya Leviah. It's covered for the neshama. And that doesn't wear off like the physical food and drink, which does wear off. And on this same idea, the Chayodam says something incredible. You know, I feel guilty, and perhaps all of us, we didn't honor our parents enough when they were alive. I know I feel guilty. But the Chayodam says you don't have to feel guilty. Hilchas Kibbutz, you know what the Chayodam was? The Mechittam de Vilna Gaon. He wrote the Chayodam Shulchan Aruch. He says that in a way you can honor parents in Olam Haba even on a higher level than when they were alive. And I'll put it in my language, the same idea. He says you honor parents in the physical world when they're here. You take them out to eat. You call them up. You take them for a walk. But the hana is temporary. When you leave, they're sad again, right? And when you hang up the phone and you leave them, they're sad again. The hana that you give them in this world, take them out to a nice restaurant, but after a while they're hungry again. Same idea, the hana is temporary. But when you honor them in Olam Haba, says the Chayadam, it's not like a Chinese meal. You give a shir in their memory, you say Kaddish. And Chaim Kanevsky says something amazing. When you're giving a shir for a niftar or saying Kaddish, you say the name. But when you're giving a shir for your parents, what does he say? It's not necessary. He says when you're giving a shir for your parents or Kaddish, you don't have to say their name because the hana is automatically, David, accrued to them. I'm honoring my mother and my father right now by giving the shir, even if I don't say their name, I don't have to. It's automatic, says Chaim Kanevsky. So you have to feel guilty that you didn't honor your parents enough. Every time you do a good deed, a mitzvah, part of the schar goes to what, Sarah? To them. Your parents are having great honor from you. Abraham, you should know that. Anytime you do a mitzvah, it's just amazing. The Gemara in Kedushin says, 31, that every human being has three parents. The mama, the papa, and the big boss. You know you have three parents, right? The mama, the papa give the guf, and the big boss gives what? The neshama. So every human being has three parents. So the Chofetz Chaim says it's a package deal. Every time you honor one of the three, you're also honoring the other two. You hear what he's saying? Package deal. So every time you put on tefillin or keep Shabbos, you're honoring HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And every time what? You do a mitzvah, ben odom lechaveiro, you're honoring your parents, you're honoring God too. Anytime you honor, by doing any mitzvah, you're honoring all three parents. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Ove v'imo. The Chai Odom says, Jews love bargains. I mean, Chofetz Chaim says that. Jews love bargains. Buy one, get three. So mitzvah shlichas kavan avi, when we do a mitzvah, we have to know we're honoring our human parent, and we're also honoring our divine parents, because Chofetz Chaim said it's a package deal. Kavod tzavich v'samecha, kavod Shem hoinecha. It says honor your parents, and it says in Mishlei honor HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The same word kabed, the same word. Kabed means to honor. Yishalmi Peah says something incredible, Sarah. I wouldn't repeat it unless Yishalmi Peah said it, the Rashbi. What's more important, honoring your physical parents or honoring God? So I'd say honoring God. But Yishalmi Peah says no. It says in 10 Commandments, honor your father and your mother, period. And if you ain't got, you have to go out and beg and make sure they're comfortable. In Mishlei it says, Kabet Hashem Mohoinecha, honor God from your wealth. Which means what? If you have wealth, you have to buy tefillin, a mezuzah, a shofar, sukkah. If you don't have wealth, you don't have to go and beg. You're not allowed to spend more than 20% of your total income in any positive mitzvah. That means, Masha, if tefillin or mezuzah or sukkah or lulav or shofar is going to set you back more than what? 20% of your income, you're not allowed to do that mitzvah. Because it says, Kabet Hashem Mohoinecha, honor God from your wealth. If you have to honor Him. Otherwise, you don't have to put on tefillin even. But when it comes to honoring your parents, it doesn't say Mohoinecha. It says you have to honor your parents. And the Gemara in Kedushin and Shalmi Peah say that even if you ain't got, you have to go out to beg and borrow to make sure your parents are what? Taken care of. So you see, honoring human parents in a way is even greater than honoring God. That's pretty incredible. Maybe it's 2 against 1. What? But that's what the Shalmi Peah says. 2 human parents, 1 divine parent. You can't have one without the other. Because the human parents, they supply the body. God supplies what? The soul. Can you have one without the other? You can't have one without the other. A soul without a body is a mensch. And a body without a soul is a mensch. So you need all 3. Because Baruch Hu says He's proud to be associated with what? With the human parents. So let's remember that every time we honor our human parents in Olam Haba, we're also honoring Hashem, and vice versa. Every time we do any mitzvah, we have to have in mind that we're honoring our parents as well in Olam Haba. So you don't have to feel guilty you didn't honor your parents enough, because now is a way you can honor them on a higher level by doing mitzvot and knowing that what? That part of the schar goes to their neshama. They get a fargenugen. I say fargenugen in English. Fargenugen. A pleasure. And it doesn't wear off like a physical pleasure, because the soul is eternal. So the neshama's hana is also what? Eternal. Sunday we have a class, Elul's mandate. What's the mandate of Elul?
Be one with God.
Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. That's, how do I know that? Because what do you say every month in Elul? Kaveh El Hashem Chazak. Kaveh El Hashem. So the month of Elul is keep hope alive. And we'll talk about that on Sunday. Thank you. Shabbat Shalom.